All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Village Council regular meeting, June 10th, 2025 at 7 p.m. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Cook,
Here.
Kemp,
Yes.
Ross,
Here.
Nicosia.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion by Ross, seconded by Nicosia. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion carries. Next is public hearings and presentations. So first is our public hearing for the CDBG request for reprogramming. And I will move to open the public hearing at 7:01.
Support.
Motion by Cook, seconded by Nicosia. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The public hearing is open. And this might be Joe who stepped out, but,
To make them copies
Oh, he's gonna get some copies for you
for the
guys.
application.
okay, that's okay.
It's for the year from 2020 and 2024, we had left over from the asbestos that we had. So it's just reprogramming it to do,
Right.
the barriers,
Right.
architectural
Th-
barriers.
There were
whatever, yeah.
barriers as well as
So I know we were talking
asbestos.
about doing the bathrooms because they're not ADA compliant and that, so I know that was something we were looking into.
So right now, we're just looking for public input, right?
Is there anyone who,
Seeing,
is there anyone who wants to address council under this, public hearing?
all right, seeing no public comment, I'll close the hearing at 7:02 p.m. Second.
Motion by Kemp, seconded by Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Motion carries. The hearing is closed. Next is the presentation from Oakland County Main Street, the accreditation certificate. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Put my old man glasses on here so I can read. So first of all, thank you for inviting me here and presenting this. I know a lot of times it becomes a little bit mundane. We come in here and we talk about how awesome Oxford DDA is and how they're one of our top performing downtowns. But once again, I'm happy to present that Oxford DDA is once again the 10th year in a row of being an accredited downtown through the Main Street America program. What that means is, I think back in February we had Dana Walker from Michigan Downtown Association come in, doing a neutral party, come in, look at the DDA, look at how it functions. Do you have adequate funding? Do you have obviously an awesome team in place? Things like demonstrate impact and results, preservation-based economic development. One of the things that Main Street America and the Main Street movement's based upon is historic preservation. So making sure that you're not tearing down old buildings in the middle of your downtown and putting up white stucco office buildings or something like that. Obviously, you're not doing that. You're doing a great job there. Commitment to revitalization, diverse, cultural and volunteer engagement, things like that. Back in February, she came in, did an evaluation. We met with business owners. Joe was there. We had DDA board members, and basically just taking a look at what's going on. Sometimes it's not all roses, but obviously Oxford's doing great. But there are some things that come out of there that are some suggestions for improvement. And it's just a neutral outlook and look at the DDA and how it's operating. So, once again, I'm proud to say that, Oxford's always been awesome. They're one of our top performing downtowns, and they're once again accredited. So, that deserves an applause. And if we could, I'll be really quick. Can we get a picture in front of the council?
Absolutely.
Okay. Come on, guys. And. Gonna use my phone? Give your phone? I'll get mine.
You deserve it, come on. I don't deserve it.
Council
Okay.
See enough of them.
Here you go. Say Oxford. Cool. Thank you so much.
Every day there's pictures that come in sweatpants, so that's,
Yes.
that'll be less at some point.
Great, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, up next is call to the public, so if anyone here would like to address council, please feel free to step up to the podium. Okay, and then we will have another opportunity for public comment later on in the agenda, so not seeing anyone approaching, we'll move on to the consent agenda, item 7A, 1 and 2.
I will make a motion to receive and file items 7A, 1 and 2.
Support.
Okay, motion by Ross, seconded by Nicosia. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
nay? Motion carries. And then 7B, the approval items.
Motion to approve consent agenda. Item B, approval items 1, 2, and 3, and bills in the amount of $377,355.84.
Second.
Motion by Nicosia, seconded by Ross. Roll call vote, please.
Cook,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Nicosia,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Motion carries, those are approved. Moving on to item 8, unfinished or old business. 8A is the Oxford Lakes Drive paving project update. Mr. Madore?
Yeah, so again, we've been talking about this, I think it started at our budget workshop in 2024. We had some money set aside in 24, with other projects going on, it kind of got pushed towards the end of the year. We discussed it again this year, spring, with the plan to do it yet this year. And as I put forth in my memo there, and it was online for people to read as well, the initial thought was we would be simply get away with a 2-inch mill and a 2-inch fill surface to the entire area, and it would be relatively inexpensive compared to where it could be. Well, the exact opposite has worked out with the way the ADA compliant issues come into play, the concrete approaches and stuff for the ADA ramps, as well as the core samples that showed lack of sufficient asphalt throughout the area. And I think they got away with that, and it's lasted pretty well because of our surfaces around there are good solid sand and gravel. But that just drives up the cost. We have to take a different approach. There's a significant amount of the ADA ramp reconfigurations to be done. So rather than not doing something this year, I thought it'd be best that we at least knock out a section of it this year. And if you recall on the map, there's 2 sections up around Woodley Way, the Woodley and Layton intersection, and then I can't remember the address, but south on Woodley Way as it turns and comes back out to Oxford Lake Drive, there's about a 110 foot section there that's just kind of falling right apart. So what we're proposing is to do that section as well as those 2 small areas on Woodley this year. Get it out to bid and get done what we can this year within the budget amount that we already have budgeted. It's unfortunate that the costs are what they are. We will, we have an estimate of $275,000 for this cost. We have some engineering costs, of course, that'll go into that, and some on-site oversight. I think we have $325 budgeted. So I think should be within or less the way we budgeted, but it was a good way to cut it off and at least get something done this year.
Yep, that sounds good. Do what we can with the money we have budgeted and then see what the price comes back at to finish
Right,
it.
gives a better idea for next year too on the cement and things like that. And next year, as we discussed at our budget workshops, I don't really plan on any water main projects for a couple of years, which eats into, we've been feeding some of our general fund money into the water and sewer, or water and roads for that purpose. So we can focus more specifically just on another section of this next year perhaps, without all the water, local street paving that we're having to do.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments from council?
Yeah, I guess maybe the only thing is just the disruption in the neighborhood. If we, we are there two years in a row, I think it's important that we get feedback from some of the residents there as well too, to so that they understand. Just some kind of educational thing I think is important, because we want to make sure that they understand that we want to do things right, but also budgets are limited. So we're doing what we can right now with the intent.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up. It's a good point. So actually, this is going to allow for much easier travel around the work area. If we tried to do this all in one fell swoop, it was gonna be really difficult to manage traffic. But this gives you the Thornhill and some other ways to get around and come down to Abington. It'll be less disruptive. Yes, it'll be more than one single disruption. But then next year when we switch and flop it, when you get to the south end, as you come up Glassby and head up north through through Spring Lake and by the Association Clubhouse, that gets kind of tough because you're taking up the only artery heading north and the two connector pieces. So this year won't be so bad. But when we get to the other part, no matter what, if you did it in one phase or three, that southern section there from Thornhill down to Oxford to Lake's Edge is kind of a difficult thing.
Sure.
Do we notify the residents in the area of upcoming work? And how's
Yeah,
that
and
done?
I think last year even I've been communicating with a couple members on the Oxford Lake Board,
Yeah.
and I kind of let them disseminate and share the information. And this gentleman, I can't recall his name, was at our meetings. He was at our budget workshops, and I think it was even you sent me an email last week, and I said, "Yep, we have a little update." And this was out Thursday on our site.
Good.
I don't know if you've perhaps seen it then or not, but I try to keep them in the loop.
Great, thank you.
Can I follow up on that really quick? Is there any way we can do something to each resident? I just know we've received feedback in the past that not every resident in that area has the same amount of communication with the board.
Yeah. Typically, what we've done on the water main projects is we get all their addresses and we send them letters in advance. Here's what's going to go on. Here's what's going to take place. Now, we have gathered email addresses on those who had them last year, and we're moving into the text program for those on Moyer Street this year. Not getting a lot of people coming back saying, yes, hook me into the text system yet. Those we have, numbers we will utilize. And again, I'll take another attempt to explain that. We've sent letters to them. But we will send a letter to each home in this stretch specifically because they're the ones most affected. And I'm sure through the communication to the board, out there, Oxford Lake Board, they can help share it as well.
Yeah, that would be great to get the Oxford Lakes Association to spread the word about our text program, because then depending on communication with contractor, we could even send updates
It's a great
each
idea.
week or.
Yeah.
I'd love to see daily, I know, it's difficult to predict exactly what's gonna happen, but that way people know kind of what's going on around town. The village is small enough that it'd be nice to be able to do that for any time we're working in any area, to be able to send something like that, so.
That's good.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right. We'll move on to the Park Street paving project, drainage issues that we see up.
So-
Did we do a motion? We did a motion.
I think
this-
it's just an update.
Yeah, it's an
Okay.
update, yeah, because we'd planned on it, we budgeted before, we talked about it,
So
just
it's all
kind of
good, all good,
changing the
all
scope
good.
right now and just letting them know where we're at. And obviously, there's been some issues last fall, the paving project ended right towards the end of the year. We knew there was gonna be some drainage issues, we watched them through the winter. We have met with our engineering, the engineering has met with the contractor more than once, they've resurveyed it, we've got some data points now, we can kind of show where the problem areas are. We met with them again last week, earlier, the week before, with Rowe and the surveyors, as well as the paving contractors. And they have some ideas how they want to fix it. Of course, their ideas may not meet our expectations, which they don't. I've even reached out to, and Rudy, good suggestion from Rudy, we reached out to a third-party engineer to get us, all right, here's the plans. We've walked it with them. We want a different set of eyes even to tell us. We don't want to settle for, the easiest way out for somebody. We want what we want. And so we're in the process of that right now, just kind of see where we come down, and then we can take something back to them and explain to them what we really want.
Are the drainage issues at Pontiac and Park? 'Cause I see those.
One on the north side,
Yeah.
by that hydrant,
Yeah.
and then a few more on Park west of Hovey.
Okay.
Couple in the stretch between Hovey and Mechanic too. But-
What do you think is needed? I mean, is it just missing like a,
There's a lot of variable ways to approach it.
okay.
We just wanted to give you an update. I don't wanna,
Yeah. We don't wanna get into the details.
because we're in a,
Yeah.
we're in a not precarious, we're in a standoff position right now. I don't wanna
No, I understand.
have the manager giving his thoughts on causation when we're still trying.
Formulating our plan.
Formulating our strategy.
No worries.
But we will keep you updated on the progress.
Okay, Yeah.
And I've sent letters back out to the people on Park Street again to remind them, no, we're not done.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments on this item? No? Okay. 8C is the resignation of Councilmember Maureen Helmuth. So we received a letter of resignation from Maureen, and so we need to vote on that, accepting that tonight. So I'll make a motion to accept with regret, with the resignation of Councilmember Maureen Helmuth.
Support.
Okay, motion by Cook, seconded by Nicosia.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call vote, thank you.
Ross,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Nicosia,
Unfortunately, yes.
and Cook.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. You know, words can't even express the thanks for Mo, so I'm sure we need to, we'll do that another time. Obviously, council members are free to speak during the council comments too, but we'll move on to new business. A, the residential rubbish collection contract extension consideration.
Okay, I tried to spell out a little bit of background where we stand with our current hauler, Priority Waste, and you're all familiar with how we got here in the assignment of the contract last year. And again, I put in there, aside from the initial toughness they had, and for the first month or two, it was pretty rough. It was the cards they were dealt. Since that time, I could probably count on one hand how many complaints we've had. Maybe one from Ashley. Not to name names. So again, once the initial shock of all that what happened and those things that were the uncertainties have passed, it's been a good process and a good service. They've made efforts on their end to communicate with us more. Similarly, as we've done before, my account rep is in touch with me regularly, and if I need him, I reach out. Mr. Haifa is here. He's helped on his end as well. I looked back to give you some kind of a feedback on the extension that was offered from them. I gave you some ideas from Orion Township back in December time or something. I don't know who and the why or what happened down there. I just know what the numbers looked like. And then they ended up coming back and going with Waste Management for $20.74 in January. I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know what's going on there, what those conversations were, but that's kind of where we're looking at with them. And last year, when we were having some of the stumbling block issues in July and August, as a way to prepare in case council wanted to have an option, I did look out and get another option, and it was right in the ballpark maybe, but again, it was a 5-year program with a 4% increase versus what's being offered to us now with the 3% increase annually. So for us, that's a pretty modest increase in this business when they don't have other things built in there like fuel surcharges and stuff like that, nothing's in there like that. So I think all in all, it'd be a good idea for us to accept the proposal that's put out for us and knock this down for 5 years. There are some things, I haven't seen any contract from them, it's only proposal in rates. So those things, Bob and I could look over and say, all right, there's, like Bob mentioned earlier tonight, the Oakland County solid waste management plan or whatever, materials management plan that has to be considered. So there's some things we might want to ensure that are in there. I can't think of anything bells and whistles wise that we might want to add in. For everything's pretty well covered now.
We at one point discussed compost, or food waste, rather.
Oh, food waste. I don't know where to begin on that, to be honest with you. Some state agencies have decided,
So it's
pilot
gonna-
programs out there.
It's gonna be, the governor, the state is gonna make a push, I think everybody knows, to allow organic kitchen waste to be part of your yard waste. I think we're headed in that direction. It's, the compost facilities are the ones that are gearing up for that. I'm working with several, compost facilities to make sure they're ready for that change, and we have several pilots going on. You guys are probably involved in are you involved with any soccer communities where we're piloting the organics, Vince?
Yeah, so Vince William on behalf of Priority Waste.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, it's quite all right. No, I'm one of the founders and general counsel. All right, so I've worked with Bob for a number of years. Prior to my association with Priority Waste, so I've been involved since day one. All right, So with respect to that, yes, we've been reached out to by a number of communities that are looking at food waste. Food waste, if it is mixed with the current yard waste, is something that we can collect, all right? What makes it problematic is just, you know, the amount of acceptance that a community has, right? It does cause a little bit more wear and tear on the trucks because again, you know, you have food, all right, and I'll be very frank, all right, while there's a push to put it with the compost, right, like diverting it out of the landfills, all right, that does make it a little bit more problematic for landfills because, you know, the landfills need the organic waste to help basically help decompose and, you know, turn to gas, all right, our waste. So what's gonna happen if we do this massive diversion of food waste, you're gonna have a longer shelf life of your landfills because, you know, you're not gonna have that decomposition that's going on, right? You have less, you know, if you don't have the organic materials, right, what's left, you're gonna have plastics, right? And so that's, you know, it is something that will be eventually worked through, all right? I myself have, you know, under my company, we're looking to acquire, you know, multiple compost facilities, all right, throughout the area and as well as in other states because, you know, having compost is important, all right? It's just the move to food waste, you know, especially based upon the history that we've seen so far, it's new, all right? So I wouldn't say the technology and the ability is there where you want the widespread adoption, but give it 5 years, and as we work through other, you know, methods for with our landfills, I think, you know, it is something that's ultimately doable.
We also face the seasonal nature of Michigan. So as Vince, as you know, and as the council members know, a lot of waste diversion recycling is a characteristic trait that needs to be nurtured through consistency and messaging. And when you turn off yard waste, and people are used to putting the organics from the kitchen in the yard waste, then they say, well, what do I do during these months when there's no yard waste? And so we're battling through that a little bit about the behavior because, as you know, with recycling, if you recycle, you recycle. If they stop you from, it's a mentality thing to keep it going. So we still have to deal with the seasonal aspect. But there are compost facilities, one in Oakland County that is doing pilot programs with the organics coming in with the yard waste. So far, so good. As Vince is pointing out casually, there can be an odor issue, not only at your own home, but at the compost facility. So we're working through those. But it is a push that the state is looking at. And I know Vince is talking about the landfill, but I mean, on the flip side, 20-odd% of waste going into landfills is food related. So they're looking to divert that a little bit. So.
Any other questions from council? Thank you.
Thank you.
Allison, the capability will be here.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for our village manager to move forward with our attorney's support to look through the contract for a 5-year extension with Priority Waste.
Support.
Okay, motion by Rob, seconded by Ken. Any discussion?
I would like to say, as a village resident, I agree with Joe's assessment. It started out rough. I think they worked through the kinks, and service has been fantastic since, so
Yeah.
kudos.
And that's pretty consistent all around.
Yeah.
We have, no, and I don't think Vince will hide from the fact that it was a little rough at first.
No.
Agreed. Okay, any further comment? Okay, a roll call vote, please.
Ross,
Yes.
Nicosia,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Cook.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Vince.
Oh, thank you.
Next is 9B, the tree removal bids on local streets.
That's my way of telling me to leave.
Yep, I was gonna say the same thing. So in front of you, we have some tree bids for, let me see, 7 trees. As I mentioned, some are related to the work on the Moyer Street project and others are not. One of them, I know Rudy tells me, is a woman who's wanted this tree removed for a number of years. I can't recall which one it is right now. It's not Crawford, I believe it's Crawford Street. And it is heaving the sidewalk some as well. So he went out, we got the 3 bids. You see them range from 8,950, 10,950 to 10,100. So the recommendation was go to L&L with L&L Tree for the $8,950. And we have worked with all 3 of these tree companies. So it just depends on who's busy and who's not at the moment, I guess, how they price it out.
I will make a motion to approve the low bid of $8,950 from L&L Tree Service.
Support.
Motion by Ross, seconded by Nicosia. Any discussion?
None, but we are still talking about our tree replacement.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep, we have through, I think, the end of September to have it done.
All right,
Yep.
Thank
So
you.
some of them we are gonna slide in, like with this one is coming on Hovey, and that one's gonna go through for sure. I think we're gonna probably get about maybe 5 or 6 trees out of that. Maybe not, depends how costly they are, but, we'll try to put a couple over here in this project area as
So
well.
you're talking about the tree replacement ordinance.
Yeah.
No, we got a grant, from $2,500, so, but yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comments? No? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Nicosia,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Kemp.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next is the CDBG project year 2020-2024 reprogramming for removal of architectural barriers. That was to reallocate the funds from the public hearing we had earlier this evening. So I'll move to have the village manager approve the reprogramming of a total of $9,350.20 from the completed asbestos removal project to a new eligible activity, removal of under the removal of architectural barriers.
Second?
Okay, motion by Cook, seconded by Ross. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote please.
Kemp,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes,
Nicosia,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
motion carries. Next is the MERS 457 supplemental savings program approval consideration.
This is simply another option for our employees to use. They've always had a plain 457 plan, but this is more of like a pre-tax Roth type,
After tax.
or after-tax?
After-tax.
After-tax, right. Instead of the pre-tax, like the one we have in place. So kind of like a Roth setup where they're gonna pay the taxes first. So it just gives them another option. There's no cost to us.
Okay.
Just gives them another way to plan for their retirement.
I will make a motion to approve the addition of the 457 supplemental savings program after-tax option to provide employees in their retirement planning.
Support.
Okay, Ross and Nicosia, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we do that by a voice vote.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Motion carries. Next is the DDA vacancy appointment consideration.
I have those right here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I emailed them out and forgot.
No, I'm sorry, may or may not have, may or may not have seen them, so thanks for printing
Thank
them.
you.
2.
Fabulous, thank you.
All right, so the DDA's had a vacancy for some time. This one specifically is for Catherine Colvint's seat where she was, it's a member at large seat, basically. So anybody, there's no specific requirements to fill this, whether it being business interest or someone who lives in the district. So we put some general advertisement out a while ago, and I know Kimberly is kind of in touch with folks around town, and so these are the 2 applications that came in. It's been a few months, so I thought I would add them to the agenda for council's consideration. Both candidates I think would be great. I did confirm that they're both still interested. to see if council had any, like I said, both candidates, either candidate would be great. The DDA seems to have no preference, so I didn't know if council had a preference or not. If not, I can just make a recommendation.
Just wanna look up something really quick before.
Yeah, do you want to come up to the podium? Thank you.
Just one caveat, thank you for listening. Just to know, we have not had much interaction with one of the candidates. One of the candidates has been very heavily involved in the DDA since my joining a little over 3 years ago. The other one I've met once or twice at events, but we have not, as a DDA, had this individual participate in committees or volunteering activities that I'm aware of. While they may be qualified for the position, I did want to just note that.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
That was gonna be what I said, and then I just wanted to double check. Either one of them lives in the village or in the DDA district by default. So my recommendation, while I would love the other person to be a part of it as well, I would recommend that they start at a committee level and that we move forward with the other candidate.
Okay.
That's not a formal motion, that's just a discussion.
Nope, I appreciate that feedback. If any other council members want to weigh in.
Yeah, I mean, shouldn't we have a formal discussion with the applicants?
We can. In the past, I have made a recommendation to council after I've talked to them both and then voted on it.
Okay.
And then that's what we could do. This one I was a little bit more torn just because, both have shown great interest. But as Kimberly pointed out, one's obviously been more involved in the community more. So that was going to be where I was leaning. But I kind of want to check with the council in case you've had any other opinions before I made a motion.
I have seen both Melissa and Michael be involved in the community.
Okay.
Melissa, however, I have seen be involved at the community level and the committee level. So that's my thought.
Yeah.
So she's more in tune with the DDA needs.
I think from the DDA perspective, she's familiar with the standpoint of how the committees are currently run. I would love to invite Michael to be a part of a committee. It looks like he has a very broad interest where Melissa's might be a little bit more specific, but she's been doing it for years, and I think that's part of, before putting somebody on a board such as this, that they know what it all entails.
Right. Yeah, I really like that approach too. So I'll make a motion and we can have further discussion if needed, but I would move to appointment as Melissa Canellis to the vacant DDA board position with
Term expires this December 31.
of this year.
Support.
Thank you. Okay, so motion by Cook, seconded by Kemp. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote?
Cook,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Nicosia,
Yes.
and Ross.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. Kimberly, do you want to, I can let Melissa know, or if you want to reach out to her, I'm sure she'd love to hear from both of us, so. Okay. Thank you. All right, next is the DDA historical marker for Lone Ranger fund request.
Yes, that's me. Does everyone have this in front of them? Okay. So we kind of got a precursor to this. This is part of the Home and History Ad Hoc Committee, part of the DDA. We have a couple of things that I am asking from you today. First, we know we have that Lone Ranger fund that the village holds. Initially, it was set up to erect a statue in Centennial Park dedicated to the Lone Ranger. Unless it is the smallest statue ever known, we cannot afford to move forward with that in Centennial Park. So in the spirit of the reason that the funds are there, we would like to apply for a State of Michigan historic marker. Keeping with that, we would love to be able to have permission to put it in Centennial Park with the original intent of the funds, but also kind of as a tourism stop. This is, part of the DDA, but also our village area. We believe it will drive traffic. There are folks that, travel about just to see state markers. And the Lone Ranger is also very popular unto himself. So my first request tonight is going to ask permission from this board to move forward with putting in, if approved by the state, a historical marker in Centennial Park. And then my second request would be to use Lone Ranger funds to be able to go through the whole process. So I put a tentative budget in front of you. I say tentative. So the application fee is $250. That is set. Currently, we are approaching this with a large double-sided sign. Today's price is $4,785. Those two items that have the asterisk next to you were approved at the DDA's last meeting to come to Village Council to request those two funds from you. The rest is still tentative, so I put it in there so you could see what the fund balance is, what we may expect to do. So we haven't decided as a DDA whether or not we want that sponsor strip down at the bottom, but that would be another $670. Prices next year could change a little bit, but not by much. So my second request to you tonight is for approval to use the Lone Ranger funds, $250 for the application and $4,785 for the production of the sign if we are approved by the state. The application is due September 15th. The State of Michigan Historical Commission meets in November. We would hopefully have a decision shortly thereafter. It can take up to a year to produce this entire sign, but hopefully we would have it in place next year at some point for the village's 150th and then also for America 250.
Awesome. Who, so for the funds, who does that get paid to? Is that?
State of Michigan.
That's the state of Michigan? Okay.
Yes.
And so the village could just cut the check directly?
Correct.
We don't need to transfer anything to the DDA first?
No.
Okay.
And then I'll have all the formal paperwork if it moves forward, but you can see the application. So there's signatures from probably you, Kelsey, and you, Joe, if you move forward to be able to place it in Centennial Park, that yes, it's okay to put it on village property, even though it's a DDA district, still being on our property. But then the village can make the checks directly to the state as we apply. I am hoping, so the deadline's September 15th. We would send our package in well before that. It's almost complete, pending approval, tidy it up with some feedback. And we can send the application with the check together.
I think it's a fantastic use of the funds that have been sitting there, so thank you so much for putting this together.
I actually have another request, because even though I'm very full of requests tonight, even though we know we have this contingency here in the middle with the sponsor strip installation, etc., we would still be under budget. So I would like to recommend that the remaining funds do go to the township for their Lone Ranger marker that Mr. Carnacchio came and presented to us maybe 2 meetings ago. And I would feel very comfortable saying if we sent them $500 now, and then at the end of this process, when we know what's remaining, then be able to send the remaining funds to them, almost as a reimbursement type grant.
Okay. Do you know where in Centennial Park that it would be placed? I don't have any concerns. I'm just curious.
We don't have to necessarily decide that yet. I just had to put together aerial and side views of the park.
Mhm.
They did not say on the application specifically where, so we have some time with that.
Content on the sign as well, too?
Yes, so I have draft text, everything.
Ashley has like wonderfully figured out the dynamics of this.
And Leslie Pilak, who's on our planning commission, gave me some feedback today. She also recently was appointed to the Michigan Historical Commission, so she gave some really great feedback. And then I know some other folks that are on the commission that I reached out for feedback as well, just to make sure, we're kind of on a tight time frame when we look at it like this, but also we want to do it right. And knock on wood, if we do apply, only apply once.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Great.
Okay.
Ashley really has done, I'm on the Home and History committee with her. She really has done her homework. in terms of like making the wording and everything. She's done a fantastic job, so I really have faith in that.
The wording also comes, so I send in the draft, but then the state, if we are approved, works with us to make sure it looks nice. And that it's appropriate on both sides. So I'm right around that word limit right now, but once they send it to production, depending on the spacing of the signs, they could come back. So they work directly with, the signs that are selected to make sure it's not, hey, you gotta cut a sentence here, but they didn't take out the most important part, right?
Great. Okay, I'm gonna split this into a couple motions
you.
then. So I'll move to approve the Lone Ranger historic marker to be placed in Centennial Park.
Support.
Okay, motion by Cook, seconded by Nicosia. Any discussion on this one? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries. And then I'll make a motion to, Ashley, please correct me if this is not right, but, to use, the Lone Ranger funds in the amount of $250 for the application and the $4,785, for the sign, payable to the State of Michigan Historical Commission.
I don't know who exactly, but yes.
State of Michigan?
Yes.
Okay. And does,
The rest is all tentative, so
The rest-
that was it, so thank
that's
you.
okay for
Yep.
now? Okay. So that's my motion. Is there support on that?
Support.
Motion by Cook, seconded by Kemp.
I got a question.
Yep.
And Bob, we had looked into this in the past, and this is all on the up and up to use this money for this, correct?
Yeah, I mean, this is, my concern about what we were talking before about it was that it wasn't even close to the intent, so I think the intent here was for a statue in Centennial Park, and, right now you have enough money to maybe, be like a Hot Wheel. So this, I think what we're doing is we're going as close to the intent as we can get, and I think this does the job.
Okay. Thank you.
So this motion is for the use of the, funding from the Lone Ranger Fund. Is that the name of the fund that we have?
Yeah.
For this project. So the motion's on the table. We'll do a roll call vote.
Okay, is this the third one, or is this,
This is the
Second one.
second.
It's
Okay.
still the
I
second.
just wanna make sure.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, Cook,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
and Nicosia.
Yes.
Okay, so that passes. And then lastly, I believe the request is for the remaining balance that we expect. And so that is an amount of, as presented, so motion to approve $520.18. However, that's distributed to the township.
I think you were looking for something general, $500.
$500.
Well, you might wanna not put a figure on this, you may wanna
Okay.
just say, the
Remaining
balance of the fund that remains unused shall go to the township for their project.
Joe?
So, Ashley, the way you,
Is that
I had a
right, Ashley?
concern with Ashley's initial point because it would have been after the fact. Because I think they're gonna have that one done and installed yet this summer.
Right.
So Ashley mentioned about maybe sending 500 now, and if there's money left
Correct.
over, send the balance after
Okay.
the fact.
Yes, my
Because
recommendation would be
initially I was
500
thinking,
now.
yep,
Okay.
well, if we wait till it's ever done, this could be a year and a
So
half.
make the
Theirs might be in the
500
ground.
definitive and make the rest.
Yes.
Whatever-
And then that can-
Whatever it is.
Come later if there's any left.
Correct.
I'm gonna
I feel pretty comfortable the 500 we can do
Yeah.
without, and then
Yeah.
if there's any remaining
Okay.
to send.
And if there's in a shortage, Rod could just pay for it.
So I'll modify my motion then. So
Thank
it's a motion to approve $500 to be payable to Oxford Township for their Lone Ranger project now, and then if any remaining balance is left over at the end of the project, that remaining balance would also be transferred to the township.
Thank you. I don't know if I can second it since I'm asking.
Writing.
Support.
Let's go to this video, you can go back a little.
Any discussion or comments on this motion?
So that project obviously is also with Lone Ranger, so it's also in the spirit of the intent of the money. I think this is a good idea, and it's on the edges of the village as well too, so dual purpose.
Yep.
Roll call vote on this one?
Nicosia,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
and Cook.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, item 10, there are no items removed from the consent agenda, so we'll move to the second opportunity for public comment. If anyone wants to address council, please feel free to step up to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Andy Marshall, 659 Moorville. Just a couple questions in regards to the paving project for Oxford Lakes. You mentioned possibly doing intersections multiple years. Only concern we would have, I guess, is would it eventually get completed with, given budget restrictions already, plus the inflation for in the upcoming years.
Mhm.
You know, disruption, I understand, is a big deal, and I understand you're ADA compliant.
Excuse me.
I would think a day, 2 days, a mill one way and a fill the other way would do the whole stretch, with the exception, of course, of the ramps sections. I guess I'd like to just see what a map would look like so I could provide feedback to our association. That's what our concern is, of budget, why is it not getting done? There's been a lot of complaints, ramblings, just in our, like, unfortunately, there's nobody coming here to support it like I am, but they'll complain and rant about it on Facebook, but they won't come here. I just wanted to set the record straight to them with some kind of formal, I know before you proposed, you know, like the drive-in from the south to the north ending just shy of the return of Thornhill Trail. And then the two sections, the decaying intersection up through Thornhill. If you had anything that maybe you could provide, that I could provide the association administration for that.
I don't, but perhaps I can put something together and share it back with you that email. It might be better. That and you reached out to me last week.
Yeah.
I could probably follow up a little bit that there, maybe add some
Yeah, that's,
points to help clarify.
yeah,
And as far as us and the council and their budgeting and stuff, and look forward to the next year or two, how that might help them get some faith in that.
yeah, because I think if you do a section, already the milling of the sidewalks has been not taken well by the residents
Yeah.
already. I mean, it was a cheap, inexpensive means of replacing, not fixing the problem of the roots, properly removing the bed and repouring the sections as they should be. And when they're there, they'll do like this one, miss this one, and then they'll do these two. I'm like, there's no rhyme or reason how they're doing them. And you're talking 3 or 4 or 5 inches of a heave in some of those sidewalks. So I think the perception of the neighborhood the perception of it would be, okay, we're only going to do 300 feet, 300 feet, 300 feet, when the whole subdivision needs to be done. And the longer we wait, the more expensive it's going to be. I mean, if we don't have the money last year to this year to do it, then, I mean, we've seen the increase from last year to this year. That's all, what's what I'm concerned.
I'll try to put something together with some points on it that'll help maybe flesh that out a little bit better.
Appreciate it, because I've got, the council lives on my street, either side of me. They don't seem to be concerned about it, but they are the ones updating our website and
Okay.
the Facebook profile as well.
Okay.
Just one more question. In regards to the water cross connection, when you had the special meeting a couple months ago I attended, we just discussed about the calcium in the water and a potential for ever doing like a separate meter for irrigation over the residential water. I didn't know if any of that ever got, I know it's not on the agenda this evening, but I didn't know.
Well, I'll provide a little bit of feedback because it's helpful to council as well. But normally, we don't get a lot of this back and forth. But so right after that meeting, there was a conversation with our DPW director with the water plant operator, and they were going to adjust the soften it up some. You can't go up too far because then it starts doing other things to the water. He has reached out to source some other meters that we could possibly use for irrigation only meters. We have a good line on them versus having someone to have to spend like $400 for a meter. We may have some that might be in the 100, 150 range. And because we have a lot of questions on the similar sewer credit and how it's handled and how it's just not the great system. A separate irrigation meter would be best. It'll be more accurate. There are some upfront costs, but if we can keep those down, that's something we're working on now and sourcing those and maybe bringing back some plan to say, look, let's offer at least to those who are high users, and this will make a good benefit for them.
Yeah, like years ago when we had our meter replaced, I mentioned it to the gentleman that was there that if you even provided a meter, I would gladly even install it myself. And
Yeah.
I know that's probably not what most residents would say, but I'd do anything to have that separation, since we are, you know, we're anywhere to be $250 to $300 in the summer. We're sitting on sand, so we gotta keep it wet or we lose it somewhere. That just thought I'd ask for consideration of that, so.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great plan to get one out there for those who are high users. It would help them, and it would extend beyond the 90 days that we had the summer sewer credit in place for those who water, obviously in September, October.
Yeah,
It would be more beneficial.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, we'll move on to our committee reports. Nota?
Yes, so at our last meeting, we are discussing the intergovernmental agreement, which I did send off some edits and have it with all of you, so whenever we have feedback to provide back to NODA, and then the board is also discussing about trying to figure out buy-in, since we have new communities that have joined NODA. I did, Lynn sent over some statistics. We are currently in the process of doing a rider survey. We've had 836 respondents so far, and so with all the changes that have happened very rapidly with NODA and since the last election period, 95.3% of riders have rated their rides excellent or very good. 94% have found scheduling to be very or extremely easy. 97% said staff was very or extremely helpful. And we've also been receiving high marks given for vehicle cleanliness, comfort, safety, and on-time performance, which I just think is absolutely fantastic. The amount of growth and the amount of change that had to happen so rapidly. Props to NODA, and they're working hard to continue to streamline, even though they're already getting fabulous feedback.
Great, thank you. Planning Commission and Cable Commission.
Planning commissions meet next week.
And on the Cable Commission, Maureen Helmuth did indicate she'd like to stay on there, and it's not a requirement to have a council member on there. I've talked to Terry Stiles, I've looked at the bylaws, so hopefully she would like to stay on that one commission.
Great.
And perhaps in the future I could have her send me an email report, perhaps. Maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But she'll be going, that's great.
Yeah, she enjoys that one. She seems to like that one a lot.
Yeah.
I know, has for years.
Wonderful, thank you.
Mhm.
DDA, Jacob?
All right, so, feel free to also add to this. So the hot thing right now is the MDOT approval of, for, I guess, right-of-way is the best way to describe it. So Joe's actively going back and forth on that project to make some improvements to the downtown area. Also, they have a gazebo project going on as well, which Ashley mentioned, for the historic markers, so they'll have some coordination with you as well there. Obviously, they had their budget approval, and then congratulations on the accreditation. Also, they're still discussing the legal services issue, not issue, but just topic for the last couple months. And they also approved some power washing grants and are looking at power coating trash cans in the downtown area. And they have also given some facade grants to My Sharia Moore. That's it. Anything to add, or did I get it all right? All right. Thank you.
Perfect, all right, so.
Oh,
Colleen-
actually, one more thing. Tomorrow, the main event, the DDA is going to be at the Roxy from 6 to 9. And that's the event with the DDA over there.
Thank you. Colleen Trail.
I didn't make last meeting, so I'm not sure what they did.
All right.
I know they have extended some paving services.
Yes, they're doing a lot of paving repairs.
Okay, we'll move on to, well, ZBA has had no meeting, so manager, clerk, staff, and attorney reports. Mr. Miller?
I think. I put a lot, like what I could in my memo to you folks. The only thing that new I didn't put in there is the Hampton Block demo permit has been issued. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday last week. They don't have an exact date. I'm hoping, I asked them to let us know so we can go out there and snap a photo or two, or perhaps Kimberly can. Because this, you know, is partly, the DDA approved the $7,500 grant to them. Now the water meter has been replaced or removed as of last week. And they're just prepping to get it knocked down.
Wow.
So it'll be interesting.
Sure
So
will.
where's Mr. Breyer? Let him know we're knocking down old buildings. You tell him we're knocking some down. But this one I think deserves to go.
I'm sure he'll be pleased.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Clerk Cox?
I'm just working on taxes.
Oh.
Yeah. We did get the Doxo for the free e-checks for payments for utility billing and taxes.
Great,
But yeah, that's about it.
wonderful,
No news is good news, right?
yes. Mr. Davis?
I do have something.
Wonderful.
So, often unnoticed in the community is the relationship between my office and your police on prosecutions. Obviously, when we're prosecuting, it's not the best day for those at the other end of that system. But once in a while, you have to call out our police chief and say, he keeps a level head. And when I say that, there are circumstances that often come before him and I, mostly him, where it would be easy to get riled and maybe fired up in the wrong direction. I just want you to understand that you have a police chief who keeps me from getting riled and serves you well with a level head on his approach. And I think it sets a good tone for the village.
Agreed. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move over to council comments then, start with Ashley.
I am just very sad to see Mo go. I don't know if there's some sort of proclamation or something we can do for all of her years of service, but I would love to see something. She has just been so valuable. Outside of that, I'm glad summer is here.
Cheers. Jacob?
Second Bob's comments as well as Ashley's. Also, I forgot to mention that we have an intern as well too on the DDA. So that's also something very exciting, and congratulations to the intern, and look forward to seeing everybody next month.
We'll invite her next month so she can witness a meeting.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would just really love to thank Mo for her years of service as an employee and serving the township, or the village, excuse me, as a volunteer. She is truly an example of patriotism and community. She was an institutional force that always gave us memory of things that have passed. And when I came on council, she was one who welcomed me as a new person, and she really wanted to build and foster new leadership. So I really wanted to thank her for that opportunity.
Well said. Yeah, I want to thank Mo too, and I think we could definitely, whether she likes it or not, have some type of recognition for all of her years of service. I know I especially loved when she would spend the time listening to me and then tell me that she disagreed with every single thing. It's fantastic, and then they walk out and they're still, on good terms. So it's been great. So just her historical knowledge too, as you mentioned, Allison. I mean, she knows where the file is on everything in the basement. And
Oh
so,
gosh, she knows where that moldy file is.
So yeah, irreplaceable for sure. So, and then also with that being said, we'll try to get some more word out to the community. We're looking for, to fill Maureen's space on council. So if anyone is interested or anyone knows anyone who might be interested or a good fit, we encourage them to reach out to us, and we'll put some information out there about that. So we'll need to make an appointment at the next village council meeting. So hopefully we'll have some great candidates for that. So with that, I will move to adjourn at 7:59.
Second.
Cook, Ross, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Excellent.